We're a 43-bedded centre. We cater for people right across the northwest, from point of injury through their rehabilitation and for the rest of their lives. With the development of the major trauma centres across the northwest, we've found a dramatic increase in the number of referrals, up to near 120 to 130 referrals a year. And the problem is the centre quite simply didn't have the capacity to deal with that number of referrals.
It was really frustrating because we knew the patients that we had got referred in that needed to be with us. They needed to be in the centre really quickly to prevent complications occur, and that was actually going to have a major impact on their rehabilitation potential.
We began to consider the needs of the patients who needed at least daily access to the specialist services available within the centre, but who were clinically stable and therefore not necessarily in need of a hospital bed. Taking account of best practice in other areas and using well-established models of intermediate care and well-established model in spinal injury such as Trans House in Oswestry, we combined all of these to develop a proposal for a range of transition options to meet a spectrum of need.
The patients that we're talking about had almost completed the rehabilitation, and so they were ready now to move out into the community, but weren't ready to do that without some support.
We began to look around at what facilities already existed out there in the local community, particularly within the third sector, and it was quite astonishing actually the quality of facilities that we found and capacity within the system that where our patients could actually have their needs met within a community environment as long as they were supported by the staff within the Spinal Injury Centre.
Vitalise is a charity that provides breaks for people with physical disabilities, so we have people coming here for 1 or 2 week break. Vitalise work with many different partnerships and other charities, etc. So when Southport Spinal Unit approached us and we started to have early discussions about working in partnership in this type of way, it actually was no real issue to us. The arrangement we've agreed with the Spinal Injuries Unit in Southport is to have 4 of our respite beds permanently available to them.
Sixwold Road is a residential care home for people with spinal injuries. The building is owned by a housing association. The Spinal Unit Action Group runs the home, so they employ the staff and pay for the day-to-day running of the establishment. In meetings with case management, we discussed how they could use our facilities to benefit the spinal unit patients. And from that, we decided that we would be really excited to become involved in the scheme.
One of the key elements of ensuring patients can be maintained safely out in the community was the knowledge that they would continue to be supported by our own staff.
Come in.
When the patients move out to the project, they're still classified as inpatients. A multi-professional outreach team comprising medical staff, occupational therapy staff, physiotherapy staff, nursing staff, visit the patients regularly within the community resources.
The therapists are here on a daily basis, the nursing staff are here on a daily basis to sort of look at the day-to-day things that they need help with. And from the medical point of view, I or my colleagues would come once a week just to, as you would, an extended ward round from the main unit.
Because they're still classed as inpatients, if there are any immediate problems, any medical problems, the patient can quickly be returned to the centre. So the patients have the benefits of hospital treatments while living in the community and the benefits of community living with the backup and support of the hospital.
I think initially we all had some reservations and some concerns because we weren't sure how it was going to pan out. One of my concerns, I think, really was that if patients are moving out into the community, who's going to be looking after them? Would they have the expertise?
There was a great deal of education that had to be imparted from the staff at the centre to certainly the chaps at Vitalise, but they seem to be very receptive to that, and certainly from the feedback that I've received from the patients, they have remembered everything they were taught and actually built on that.
I think it's benefited us a great deal. You know, staff have learnt so much from the guests that have come over here. Just the simple things like the transfers from bed to chair, we don't really do much of that, and we're doing a lot more now, so they're getting more training.
Because these are hospital beds and the patients remain technically inpatients, we needed to liaise very closely with other departments within the Trust when setting this up, such as infection control, pharmacy, medical equipment, tissue viability. We needed to make sure that anything provided to the patient was of the same standard as it would be within the hospital building.
Well, Vitalise as a charity is registered with the Care Quality Commission, and we therefore have to meet their national minimum standards, and we've done that here at Sandpipers very successfully for many years.
And we were really pleasantly surprised at the standard and the quality of care that's given out there, and also the close monitoring. And I think as we took all the other departments from the hospital out to see it, that view was shared.
I became an inpatient, and about 4 weeks later I went over to Vitalise. I became medically unwell after a week, so I had to return to the unit. As I've improved physically and mentally, I suppose, going back to Vitalise, it's like you get up in the morning, you've got something to work towards.
Partnership working has allowed us to achieve a lot more for the patient and for the centre as a whole. We have access to a much greater range of resources. We're bringing our knowledge and expertise out into the community, but we're learning a lot as well.
In the hospital environment, everything is done for you, almost automatically. But having had the experience of directing the staff here, I feel that I'm capable now of directing people when I get home. So I'm feeling a lot more comfortable about that.
And a lot of them who have reached a certain plateau or a certain kind of level often find that they're extremely motivated when they get here and achieve a lot more before they actually go home.
And also because I've got a lot stronger here through daily exercise, I'm also a lot more confident about dealing with the physical environment at home.
It was a great thing to see these individuals blossom, but whilst under the protection and care of the umbrella of the Spinal Centre.
We presented a costed proposal for this model of partnership working to the North West Specialised Commissioners and representatives from the major trauma centres. The proposal was very positively received, and subsequently directors of finance across the region agreed to share the cost of a 3-month pilot. The success of the pilot led to the continuation of funding for this financial year, which has given us a great opportunity to grow and develop the service.
You're a patient in hospital, you're not a patient, you're a person out there, and it can't be any other way in hospital, I understand that. But it makes you think and makes you independent.
On average, we've managed to reduce the waiting time from referral to admission by 36%.
And the other benefit is at the other end of the rehabilitation cycle, which is that we're already finding that our patients are going home on average 17 days earlier than we expected them to.
There are guys who showed statistically significant improvement in their SCIM score, that is spinal cord independence measure, which is the outcome tool validated and used across the world. We saw statistically significant. The reason for it is availability of the facility without the constraints of institutions.
What we've done is established a model which can grow and develop and can be replicated easily, not only with other providers, but within other areas.
The major impact for the ward has been the fact that we can get patients in the very early stages post-injury. So they're coming in with acute spinal cord injury, which enables our staff to gain much more valuable experience in dealing with such injuries. This should help us recruit staff into what we feel is a more exciting role, because they're dealing with a variety of patients with acute illness, progressing right through the rehab programme.
We're seeing dramatic improvements in their perceptions of control, their overall quality of life, their mood, their levels of adjustment. There are no negatives.
And the credit goes to the people who brought it, that's case management department.
Although case management proposed the model, what actually brought it to fruition was the fact that it was embraced right across the centre, across the whole trust, up to board level.
That combination of third sector and NHS has worked beautifully, and I think it ought to be held out as a beacon as to how other people can do it.
Forward to 6 then, nice and slowly. Okay, getting your full foot on.